And bringing it back home in gymnastics, South Africa, for the very first time this weekend, hosted the Down Syndrome International Gymnastics World Championships in Tshwane. South Africa played host to Argentina, Mexico, Italy, USA, and Bulgaria in the two-day championship, which culminated today. And to get more on this, we are joined now by coach of the SA Down Syndrome Gymnastics team, Farikao Moses. Farikao Moses, good evening and welcome to Newzroom Afrika.
Good evening, how are you?
I'm very good, excited to be chatting to you about the Down Syndrome International Gymnastics World Champs that were held for the very first time in South Africa. Now, what does this say about the growth of sport?
Well, I think this was the greatest privilege that we have in South Africa because it was the time to showcase the world that South Africa is capable of holding such an international event. We had a lot of bad, media, this and that, but it was held successfully. And all the guys from the international community, they were quite impressed. And it was a successful event.
And how did South Africa fare this weekend compared to the other nations?
Well, let me start bragging. I said we had an outstanding performance from our junior team. We were the only one in the world to bring a junior team. So we are currently the World Championship gold medalists when it comes to the juniors. And to the senior section, we were placed fourth. We had a bit of tough competition against Italy and Argentina. But we are also performing at international standards, so which is very, very impressive, especially coming from our athletes.
And in terms of the opponents and the countries that we hosted in South Africa, going forward to more international games, do you think our athletes are ready to compete at the standard that some of the international gymnasts find themselves?
I am highly convinced that we are actually performing at the same frequency or probably even beyond. Because we've got Charles Phillips, who's one of our seniors. He's been competing in this competition for more than 20 years. So he's been on the spotlight representing South African flag so high for a long time. So we are actually heading in the right direction. And this is the time, the whole South African, they can see what we are capable of. So yeah.
And what do you think needs to be done more to promote the sport, especially when we're looking at gymnasts with Down syndrome?
Well, I think the question that I can probably bring to everyone is there's so much stigma that comes along with people with disability, because a lot of majority, they are not informed or educated, and they do not know how to deal with such people like that. So most of the time they are discriminated to participate in a lot of sports. But in gymnastics, we do have different disciplines. So we have all categories for all people with disability. We do not eliminate all stigma. So it just shows that gymnastics is one of the sports that do not eliminate. So I'm quite impressed that even the South African Federation and the government, they were working hand in hand to make it a successful event. And I believe I think what we need is to educate the majority of people with Down syndrome, because there is a bit of stigma that also comes along with people with disability, because they do not know how to handle that.
And it's also fascinating because we have some of the best performers within our Paralympic teams when it comes to disability sport. So that said then, how do others that are watching at the moment who have young ones or teenagers or elder children that can participate in gymnastics join in?
Well, this is the golden opportunity actually to step forward and approach any nearest gymnastics club. And we do have a forthcoming competition in Turkey. And if I'm not mistaken, South African officials, they are working relentlessly to make sure that they will send a team to represent us like what they did recently with this event. So I'm quite highly impressed that our officials, they are working in the right directions. And even when we're talking with the Italians, they were quite impressed with how the whole event was staged and everything. So we are not just performing above excellent, but we are actually performing above almost at international level when it comes to this.
All right, so Moses, let's leave it there. Congratulations to you and your team, to the juniors that did the most for Team South Africa. Best of luck as you travel aboard with the rest of Team South Africa. That's all the sport we have for you for today. It's now back to Kathy to wrap it up.